So today we're going to talk about the bid-ask spread. You may have heard of it before, but maybe you haven't. But either way, by the time we get through this video today, you're going to have a good understanding of what it is, why it's important, and why it matters to you, whether you're a casual investor or an active trader. Before we jump in, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a like if you think you're getting any value from it or you'd like to learn more from this channel. We'd really appreciate it. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. The bid-ask spread is essentially the difference between what one party is willing to sell a security for versus what another is willing to pay for it. This is the idea of the bid and the ask. In many cases, there'll be a market maker who's part of a broker who will represent one side of that equation, either as the buyer or seller, depending on the situation. There's also reasons why this plays into effect with limit orders and making sure those limits kind of create a sort of workflow or deal flow to continuously tighten those spreads up. Now let's jump into what that actually means, though. The idea here is that as a buyer, there's a price that I'm willing to pay for security, and as a seller, there's a price I'd like to accept. That difference between those two is typically considered the transaction fee, and that's going to go to the broker and most often in many cases. Now, it's important to understand that that bid-ask can be wildly different from one part of the market to another, from one type of security to a different type of security. So I'll give you an example. We typically see really small bid-ask spreads, can be fractions of a penny or pennies or a few cents, for highly liquid, highly traded things like index funds or very popular stocks or just widely liquid assets. Now, on the flip side, as you start to get down more into that world of penny stocks or the OTC markets or pink sheets, these are sort of the off the major exchange type trades. You can see bid-ask spreads that are wildly huge. And this represents a lack of liquidity and a general lack of buyers and sellers. So you have to be really cautious as both a trader and an investor that you're getting in at the price that you want. And this is why you see things like limit orders being used all the time. If you're not worried about that spread and you're trading in something that's very liquid, market orders are okay, but just be aware that you may not be getting the price you think you're getting at that moment when you execute on that trade. So what else? What else does bid-ask tell us? Well, bid-ask is really, at its base, a way for us to understand the total liquidity of a market. If we see that something has a really tight spread between the bid and the ask, we can be pretty sure that this is a popular, highly accessible liquid asset that we can get rid of when we want. We can buy when we want as well for pretty much the price that's going today. It's also kind of gives us pause to think as a trader, if I'm jumping into something quickly and I don't know what that spread is and it's a very illiquid asset, I should take a moment, think about what I'm doing and decide if a limit order is better for me. And also that spread will tell us if there's a chance we're ever going to hit that limit order as well, because if the bid ask is very far apart and your limit's at the top end, you may never get that correlation from the bottom that meets up at the top as well. So that's really it for today. We're keeping it pretty simple. If you're making a trade, you're making an investment, and you're planning to leverage a market order, be aware of what that spread looks like. It can have an impact on what you pay versus what you think you're paying. And also helps you understand if you're buying something you can quickly get out of if you need to. And in the case of active traders, of course, if you're not looking at the bid-ask spread, you're really doing yourself an injustice here because you may not be executing at the price you can quickly get out of as well. So please, as always, be careful, do your research, and keep learning new terms. Thanks, everybody.